Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey everybody, welcome to another fabulous episode of Business Coaching Secrets with your boy Road Dogg here, and of course the man of the hour, the man on top of the hill, King Karl Bryan.
Yo, Road Dogg, how goes it, my man? How goes it?
Going awesome, dude. Going awesome as per usual. I'm in a particularly good mood. I'm feeling very alert and spry, which means there'll be, I'm sure, some extra banter along the conversation today, which is always very exciting for you.
Not so much on past performance, Road Dogg, and some of the feedback that I get when you're poking. Like something tells me I'm about to get made fun of, but let's get into it. Sounds fun.
Let's get into. Well, hey, look, someone's got to do it, right? And it can't just always be your wife. So, switching gears though. Okay, so obviously, Karl, man, it's every day. I swear to God, I'm turning on some sort of news or reading something, and it's businesses shutting down, 20, 30, like plus years in business, just closing their doors. And we know the stats, right? We know that 80% of businesses fail. Can you shed a little bit of insight? Because we did have the question, like, why do 80% of businesses fail? And I just think there's probably never been a more appropriate time. I'm scared to think of what that number is truly going to be like in the next few months going forward. But what's your take on that?
Yeah, okay, so two-part answer, I think. So one, just where we're at. I mean, we just locked in our house by our government employees for the last, 60, 90 days. So, I mean, times are going to be tougher now than ever. Cash flow, the reason a business goes out of business is if you've ever played Monopoly, the same reason the game ends for you and you end up in bed early while everybody continues to play is that you run out of cash. Like, you don't run out of opportunities, you don't run out of ideas, most definitely. You run out of cash. So what's happening is exactly that. And my opinion is it's not all, I mean, it's horrific. And anybody going out of business, it is horrific. But the good news is for the most part, everybody lives in a society where you can only go to zero. Okay, because no doubt you guys know, like many multi-millionaires, you hear stories of them going bankrupt, right? It's happened. Well, the good news is that you can go up as high as you want, but you can only come back to zero. You get to, put your chips in and start again. Not that that should be the goal for anybody, and I would, from a psychology and identity point of view, maybe a conversation for another day, but you'd be much better off to fight through it. Because the lessons that you would learn through fighting through that would hold you in good stead. But the bottom line is that a lot of businesses, you run out of business because you run out of cash. And right now people are running out of cash and they just weren't ready for it. Like I've got a neighbor not too far down and, he owns a restaurant and a couple other its and bits. And the bottom line is it wasn't that he wasn't going to be able to push through, but the timing was just horrific for the guy. Right. So, and he may be able to, I mean, it's not all lost, but that being said, people are vulnerable. So with that, here's what's going to happen. 25% of the businesses are going to go bye-bye or very close to, right? Well, if you've ever, so it's good and bad. A lot of the 25% of the businesses, if you're fair, what's happening is it's the ones that deserve to go. There's 3 restaurants lined up. You go to the one in the middle. You've never been to that street before, that community before. You walk out, you go, garbage service, garbage food, everything must have been frozen for 3 weeks is the way it tasted. Never going back there. I wish we would have picked one of the other ones. Well, the reality is that's the one that's going bye-bye. And due to timing, there are going to be some good businesses and good family people that are going to lose their businesses. My heart goes out to them. But the reality is, in a lot of cases, the 25% that are going are kind of, it was time. With that being said, you ever cleaned out your fridge? The answer is obviously, right? Well, you clean out your fridge, you go to it, you open it up an hour later, you go, oh my God, there's nothing in here, right? It's so empty. Well, Fast forward 30 days, you come back to the same fridge, and what happens? You open it up, although you don't realize it, but it's full again. And why is that? That's the same with your fridge, my fridge. It's a universal principle, right? So what's going to happen with the 25% of the businesses that go bye-bye is that they're going to, other businesses are going to step in and take those spots. And quite frankly, in a lot of cases, and let's just throw an arbitrary percentage out there, 15 to 25%, this is going to be a really good thing. And then, 5 to 10 are going to lose businesses that it was just a bad timing and they deserve to stay standing. But those are the ones that will dust themselves off, learn a whole lot through the experience, and come back and be bigger, badder, meaner in the future, right? So with that being said, though, but I think I like the question because it sounds to me like somebody, why do businesses fail? And first principle of business is problems. Okay. And then you come up with a solution and there's your business. The mistake that people make is everybody wants to come to me, Carl, I get an idea. Is this a good idea? Idea. That's a horrific way of starting a business with a good idea. What you do is you put your spidey senses out looking for problems and then you solve them. And now you're onto something. And that, by the way, would be a very small percentage of the population would naturally go there. So why do business? So why else do businesses fail? What would I say? I think that delusional. In fact, I was just in bookstore yesterday. I love going to bookstores. I hope if you want to be super successful at business, one of the smartest things you could ever do is, derive a passion for learning, reading, and then in this day and age, we can listen to audios, on YouTube and whatnot. But the bottom line is, develop a passion for learning. I was in a bookstore, and again, I was just kind of looking through as I tend to do, and there's just so many. It's The Secret, it's the 4-hour work week. It's all these sexy, delusional, go with your gut, right? You know what your gut stands for? Gave up thinking. Don't go with your gut. Go with the data, right? That would get you significantly further. So what am I trying to say? I think that people go and they buy these books and they have these titles, like the 4-hour work week will be a classic. And by the way, the 4-hour work week is an unbelievable book. The problem is people go to the bookstore, they read they buy the book, they read the title, maybe get 7 pages into it, put it down, and they assume that they read the book and they think that it's about a 4-hour work week. If you actually read the book, it's got nothing to do with working 4 hours and then putting your feet up. It has to do with efficiency and lifestyle. It's a great business book that everybody should read. But the sexy delusional title, which made it a bestseller, by the way, I think it draws people into this, like similar to The Secret, like as though you're going to sit on your beds, think super positively, and a bag of money is going to drop on your head, right? Even high ticket sales is another one. High ticket sales would draw you into something like real estate. Well, how does the average realtor go? And we know that only 5 to 10% of them make it. And the question is why? And it's because no repeat business. So again, a tattoo for your arm, repeat business equals profit. So I often talk about just the contrast between somebody starting up in real estate and then my neighbor 3 doors down, 27-year-old guy's got a $350,000 Lamborghini. He owns a cleaning company. Nobody's dreaming of starting a cleaning company, but a lot of people are dreaming of a career in real estate. Well, again, it's got that sexy, delusional feel to it. The difference, cleaning, repeat business equals profit. Cleaning is a great business that you could potentially scale. There's some staffing issues. I'm not going to go into that now, but the bottom line is that's an example of a business that could scale, but a realtor with no repeat business is always going to struggle. So the high ticket, what am I getting at? The high ticket sales, that's how we draw you in to sell you books and programs, that sort of stuff. So anyways, I think that would be my answer. Maybe even another one is the shoddy and poor, goal setting is what I'm looking for. But what they want to do is they want to hit $1 million. Okay, hitting $1 million is a stupid target because I know people that do $1 million and lose $100,000. I know people that make $1 million, do $1 million in gross revenues and make $80,000. But then I know people that do $500,000 a year in total, and they make $250,000 of profit. Which business would you rather own? You see how the goal before they got started is absolutely horrendous. So you've just got to stay that they get away. The average business owner, our brain is a very complex animal. No doubt we all know that. If it was a computer, it'd be the size of, a NASA computer plus. very complex. So I think we get away from first principles very, very quickly. The same with, look, a really great metaphor is trying to lose weight, right? It's the easiest. God, stop eating crap, get off your fat butt and go for a walk, and then turn your walk into a trot, and then turn your trot into something a little bit faster than a trot. And you don't need to be an Olympic sprinter in order to lose weight. You need to follow some very basic principles. But people spend all day and all night online and, this diet, that diet, keto, this, that, the other. And really, it's the most basic thing in the world. But the same with growing a business. It's find a problem and then solve it and then continue to get better at solving it. Right? So, and then raise your prices as you bring more value to the marketplace. So anyway, I think that's it, buddy. In fact, Karl Icahn, he's a guy, again, I love studying billionaires, and Karl Icahn, he's a corporate raider, which basically just means he comes in, multi-billionaire. And he comes in and he finds public companies that have got away from first principles. That's what he looks for, first principle. They've come away from, the basics of running their business. They come in, he buys them. At the time that he buy them, they'd be distressed. And he basically cleans them up, brings them back to first principles, and makes an absolute killing. And if you listen to him interviewed and whatnot, he'll often talk about what he really does is he just stays on the basics, where he finds that, others, especially when they get, those staff members that have been around forever and a day, and they just kind of want to, keep them in place and find things for them to do because they've been around for 25 years. That would be an example of a horrific game plan, right? So he just comes in, he brings them to the absolute basics, and he he crushes it. So I think that's the answer, buddy. That's what I think happens. And again, I know that there's some difficult times out there, and my heart goes out to every single one of them. But the bottom line is we can't change it. You just gotta, it's not the strongest that survives. It's the most adaptable. Well, now, if ever there was a time to be super adaptable, it is right now. So you got to keep your eye on the prize and keep cranking. So there's my answer, Road Dog.
So you mentioned basics. So there's a question here that actually ties into that pretty cool. The question is, when starting with a client, what baselines do you establish? So that kind of ties right into it, right? What are the basics for a business? What do you say there?
Okay, so I'll tell you, actually, you wanted to hear, I don't think this is what they're asking, but I think this is a beauty. When I start with, so say I was trying to sell somebody something, okay? So let's say, I've sat down with a potential coaching client. It's time to bring the deal home, right? So look, do you want to do this thing? At the beginning of the call, I will ask them, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at with moving forward? Okay? Well, the answer that they give me, let's just assume they say, and they'll think about it. The longer they think about it, frankly, probably the better off for you in terms of they're really serious. Say they say 7.5 or 8. Well, remember, when I go skiing, I got to find that, and I'm on a new ski hill or I'm at a national park. I'm trying to find that sign, and the red arrow, you are here, is the most important part of it. Sorry, map, not sign, but map. So what they've told me is the you are here, right? They're establishing where they're at. And now I have to get them from a 7.5 out of 10 to a 10, right? To lock in the deal. So this is not bad. And then at the end, and sometimes I'll even joke with people. In fact, some people listening to this, if you bought something from me, would have potentially experienced this. But I say, okay, well, don't worry. I'm about to help you get to a 10, right? And it's just very simply, it's, when you think about it from the entire playing field, I've got a really good sense as to where they're at. What is stopping you? So another question I would give them is, what is stopping you? What between the 8 and 10, there's 2 points there. What's the gap? And again, they're telling me, so understand that I'm getting a really good understanding as to the playing field for this particular sales call, where they're at, where I got to get them to, and then I go from there. But so anyway, so that's a nice little sales trick, asking people where they are on a scale of 1 to 10 so that you understand that. Not to mention it really clearly dictates to them that, look, we're here to get a deal done, and I'm going to help you get it done. But more to the point, with coaching clients, what baselines would I want to establish? Number one, look, gross revenues. You've got to get a good understanding as to where they're at. I would also say a lot of the time when we work with clients who are training our coaches, we train them in 5 key areas. There's actually a 7 step process that we have on our membership sites, but the middle 5 are these ones. But like lead generation, I want to know how many leads do you get per week? The second number I want to know is conversions. So basically, of those deals, how many of them get done? Conversions. Transactions. Okay, so basically, we go to McDonald's and they say, "Do you want fries with that?" Okay, like I want to understand at the point of purchase, like do they have are they basically do they have cross sells in place? And then by the way, think of the cleaning company versus the realtor. I want to know how often people buy from them. I also want to know their unit of sale. Okay, so I would call this pricing. And again, at the point of purchase, do they have something like, do you want me to supersize that? So that would be another one that I would want. And then profit margins, most definitely, which basically dictates that I would want to know their profit. Like I want to know what their expenses look like, so their profit margins. So basically, those would be core 5 in the middle: leads, conversions, transactions, pricing, and profits. Also, gross revenues, and I'd want to get a good handle on where their expenses are. In fact, another number that I would want to know would be break even. Here's a little bit of magic around break even. Let's say you've got a business and they did $800,000 in total, and they have $400,000 is their break even. Okay, well, here's the magic. Let's assume they've got 60. Their margins are 60% gross and then 20% net. And if those numbers confuse you, just follow the rest of it and it'll make sense in a second. Super simple. The company did $800,000 and $400,000 was their break even. And again, you don't need to absolutely nail it. You need to have a pretty good indication as to where their break even is. And as you're coaching them over a longer period of time, you can really nail it down and know exact, right? But get a good feel as to where it's at. Here's the magic. On the first $400,000, they're making 20%. Okay, so that means they have $80,000 of profit on the first 400. And then on the second 400, they did $800,000 gross and 400 grand was their break even. On the second 400,000, they're now making 60% because their expenses are handled on the first 400. Well, basically, you have got 240 grand of profit on the second 400,000. So, moral of the story is what? You want to help your client get really passionate about controlling their expenses and then basically managing, what number are they making above and beyond the 400,000? Because that is because you'll hear a client, they'll say, they've been in business for X period of time. They say, at some stage, like the rubber just started meeting the road and we really started to crank it. The bank account all of a sudden really started to load up. And they didn't understand what happened, what changed. They just kind of thought it was a function of, doing business over a longer period of time. And the answer is no. What they did basically is they're now making a significant, a return above break even. And that is where the money's really starting to stick. And that's where the profits really come. I would just tell you that the average business owner, again, what I always say, just sort of tongue in cheek, is that controlling their expenses is up there in terms of importance with returning the library book. And you want to make that part of your coaching process to teach them and get them passionate about doing that, because it's absolutely critical. Just expenses always spiral out of control. What does my dad say? That expenses have a way of meeting revenue. Put it that way, right? So and that can be as bad as the red Ferrari and the really expensive and elaborate vacations to the basics as well. But just expenses have a way of meeting revenue. And if you want an example of that, just look at your own personal life. And I can tell you that I don't need to sit with you to know that just as you started making more money and things started loosening up, or in terms of, your money, you started making more money, your expenses went up. The end. End of story. It happened to you. It happened to me. It happened to Road Dog. It happens to everybody. The X factor is being able to control that. So those are the baselines, man, that I would establish, and that's a great way of approaching your small business client. By the way, is establishing those, because until they know what they are, like what you will find with your client, if you measure those numbers, you will get a 10% increase just by virtue of their competitive nature. Like if they're an alpha personality and there's a 90% chance that they are an alpha personality because they're a business owner. Otherwise, they wouldn't have started their own company. You'll get a 10% uptick just by measuring the numbers. Well, I could show you a spreadsheet, but in a nutshell, if you had, like, let's say you have a business owner and you take those 5 numbers, and then it comes down to 60,500, okay? And then you increase the 5 numbers, leads, conversions, transactions, pricing, profits. You increase them by 10%. What happens is you go from 62,000 to, I can't remember the exact number, but it's over 100 grand. So let's just say there's $40,000 of jam between 62,000 and 100 grand. And the way you got to 100 grand is just a 10% increase in the 5 areas. So what am I saying? When you're working with your client, the challenge that they have got that most people have is they're trying to make a huge, massive improvement in an individual area, when in actuality, they will get significantly further. I want you to bold, italicize, capitalize, highlight significantly. They will get significantly further by making small improvements in multiple areas versus a monster one-in-one. And the one that they always go to first, as a rule, is lead generation and conversion, like sales. That's what they want. They want new clients, leads. And they mistake leads for money, quite frankly. A bit like, the 4-hour work week. People feel like leads represent money, and therefore they want leads, when in actuality they want money. And the two, I could have a landing page and I could increase your conversion, but then hurt sales, right? But very few people will go, second, third, fourth order consequences past the leads. They just assume that more leads are going to become more clients, and that is not necessarily the reality. So in other words, they're measuring things that aren't really, they're not measuring the most important numbers, and the most important number is how many deals get done. So that's what I'd say, Road Dog. Those are the baselines that I'd come with. Very good idea. Small incremental changes in multiple areas is where the magic happens. And by the way, if I take that and we go 50% improvement in the 5 areas, you go to about $500,000. So imagine working with a business owner and going from 62,000 to $500,000. That's magic. And you won't get it by just going into one area and really blitzing it. So that's an important, and I like the question.
Beauty. Listen, this is a cool one right here. Karl, I've been following your advice, and I've actually now got 10 paying clients, and I'm feeling maxed out. Do you have any productivity hacks?
Productivity hacks. Yeah, so they got, well, first of all, okay, so they got 10 clients in their max. There in itself is a problem. You should be able to comfortably handle 20 high-end coaching clients. You do max out a little bit at that stage. But yeah, so you're going to want to look at that one. So I would say, look, first of all, getting 1-to-1, which you've got to be able to do in order to get to 20, well, and then you want to go beyond that, no doubt. You want to have 1-to-1 clients to get your cash flow going. Okay, and then I want you to be thinking about group coaching. And then with all of our clients, we provide them a membership site. There's a reason why, okay? Because again, once you max up in 1-to-1 clients, you still want to be able to grow. And there's still a lot of people that want your help and are looking for your help. So your membership site is a great way to get there. So again, as a business coach, you should absolutely, a membership site is something that you need, and group coaching is something that you should be growing into. But so bottom line, productivity hacks, we're really talking about time management here. Track your time. First of all, track your time over the course of an entire week. But of course, I tell people to do that. They tell me they're going to do it, and guess what? They never do. So in other words, just remember first order principles, like the basics of business is you've got to be able to maximize your time. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Richard Branson, Tony Robbins, whoever you name, the business owner, we've all got 24 hours a day, 7 days in a week, 365 in a year. So you got to be able to, if you want to be able to crush it, you've got to be able to maximize that. Some real basic hacks that I think that are just undervalued, like Zuckerberg and Bezos often talk about wearing the exact same thing. Steve Jobs did the same. Okay, why do they wear the same thing, right? And obviously it's not the same T-shirt, it's not the same sweatshirt every time, right? They've got multiple because they've only got so much focus, like they've only got so much energy during, throughout the day. They want to be able to channel it into places that matter as opposed to places that don't. And that is why they don't want to give 5 seconds of thought to what it is that they're wearing. So this is something, is that going to save you a ton of time? No, but I got to tell you, it's going to save you some mental bandwidth, and that one idea that you might come to at the point when you just grab the same t-shirt and the same pair of shorts and chuck them on might be valuable. And by the way, your coaching clients, just understanding that principle can be valuable. Another thing, like having a cleaner. I often talk about, like, you should not be an entrepreneur and clean your own toilets. It shouldn't be allowed. The reason, the difference though, the hack is that you hire somebody to come in for 2 hours a week to clean your home. And unless, of course, it's a therapeutic thing for you, but I'd be amazed, right? So basically, you need to have a cleaner, but then while the cleaner is there, you and your wife get a book on tax, okay? Or a book on time management, whatever it is you need to be learning, but tax would be a great place. The number one expense in your life, my life, Road Dog's life, anybody's life is tax, always, but we haven't spent 5 seconds doing it. So hire a cleaner and then use those 2 hours to sit down with your wife and study taxes. That would be an unbelievable use of time. And then if you're encouraging a friend to get into start a business, and you think, well, a cleaning business isn't a bad place to start because it's really easy. It doesn't have to be your forever business. And I know you don't want to clean toilets forever, but you're also better to do that because you can't go broke running a cleaning company. You might just not make enough money, right? Like a building company, you could go broke because of all the out-of-pocket expenses, the wood and the staff and that sort of stuff. Cleaning, you could run on a shoestring, do it. But then as the hack for them, they knock on doors. That's simple, right? Get some cleaning contracts and say, well, while we're there cleaning, what we want you guys to do is to study things that you should be learning so that you can earn significantly more money. And let me tell you, whatever you're going to pay your cleaner, let's call it $50 an hour, if you were studying taxes, you would get so much further, you have no idea. The bottom line, cleaning your own house when you could be building your business would be a horrific idea. Another one that I've heard a lot of guys are doing now and moving to, especially with Uber, is that they're hiring drivers. Okay, so people that are driving them around. Because imagine you're going from appointment to appointment, and instead of you could get an hour, if somebody drove you to work, you could get an hour and a half of work done in the back of the car while they're driving to and fro. Well, boom, there's an extra hour of work done versus driving. And then think of Uber, and then you're like, oh, gee, that sounds expensive. Well, no, I'm just talking about Uber here. They basically take over, you sit in the back, never drive again, right? Just things like gardening. If you're spending time, let's just go to stuff that you're doing in and around the house. You could hire people to do this stuff and then spend your time growing your business and get significantly further. My wife was here. She would piss her pants at this one. Well, maybe the opposite. She'd kick the garbage can. But what I do, my job, I don't do a lot around the house, right? My job is to build the business. If my wife sees me walking around the house and I have my earphones in, she knows that I'm listening to something business related. That's what I do. That's what I like to do. I don't want to be thinking about other stuff. I want to be thinking about growing my business, helping my clients, thinking about business coaching in some way, shape, or form. It might be this podcast that I'm thinking about, right? Okay, so I go outside, but my job around the house, I don't do a lot of cooking. I don't do a lot of cleaning. I do the barbecuing. That's about all I'm responsible for in that, in and around that stuff. But taking the dogs for a walk and picking up the dog crap is my job, right? So I take the dog bag, I pick up the crap, and then I leave it outside. Instead of putting it in the garbage can, I put it beside the garbage can. And then why? Because I never know. The dog doesn't take a crap multiple times per day, and we've got 2 of them. So I take it out. If they do take a crap, I just go grab the existing bag, and then I go and I grab the second piece of crap, right? I don't even know why I should be telling this story, Road Dog. But anyways, it saves me time. Otherwise, the dog takes a crap. I got to watch her. I got to see where she's doing it. I got to run inside. I got to get the poop bag. I got to run back outside. I got to try to find the crap. It just adds time, and it just focus and time. So I leave the dog crap sitting beside the garbage bag. My wife, every time she sees it, she loses it. She's finally got her head around it now, as I explained to her. But it's a time management hack, right? Ridiculous? I don't know, but that is an example of one. You've only got so much energy. Here's what I'm trying to describe. Picture you've got a circle, okay? And then you've got energy that pops out. Well, you could have energy in 10 different areas: picking up dog crap, doing the cleaning, working on your business, answering the phone, sending text messages and whatever it's going to be. You got like 10 different like you've got this circle and you've got 10 different arrows versus, and then each arrow is going to go like roughly an inch out. Okay. Versus you take all your time, all your energy, all your focus into one. So now instead of having 10 arrows, you've got one, and that's your business, and it's going to shoot out, 10 inches instead of just one, right? Like the idea, you've got to eliminate all that other stuff as much as you can, and you're not going to be able to eliminate all of it. Just spend your time there. Like, again, I've got a 7-year-old daughter and I spend an enormous amount of time with her. And when I do spend my time with her, I try my best, and I am not perfect in any way or even closely pretending to be. But like when I spend my time with her, I am spending my time with her. But at the same time, when I'm not spending my time with her and I'm in my office, where I am right now, and she's home and she's upstairs, she just knows not to come in and bother daddy at different times, right? But if she desperately needs something, she can come down, and she has red carpets, treatment around here if she needs something. But she just knows that that's the way it works, right? The bottom line, and good, bad, and by the way, you might disagree with that, and I'm totally cool with that. That's the way we run our house. That's the way we run our program. What I'm trying to get at is, where are you spending this time and energy and whatnot? And I think if you think about it from a place of you just totally dial in and totally focus, you could get significantly further. Like growth is what you say yes to, success is what you say no to. Saying no to a lot of things, like again, in fact, one of my clients, in fact, she might be listening to this, Sydney from Sydney, I call her. In fact, everybody calls her that because that is her name and that is where she is from. But she even said to me, like literally within the last very short period of time, I can't believe you're not more famous, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but I do hear something along those lines, whatever. I don't do interviews. I don't run around. I don't stand on stages. I'm not running around. And then why? Because my business, what I am concentrating on is building my business, creating value, improving, creating software, creating membership sites, creating the stuff for my clients that I want to be creating. So I want to make sure that I'm bringing, this isn't anything to do with Karl Bryan, who gives a crap. This is about, for my business, this is how I am totally productive, because I'm dialed in and I know exactly what I need to be concentrating on, versus letting my energy and letting my time get dragged in all different areas throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month. I just totally dial in, and my business is what it is that I'm concentrating on. So that's where I think if you've got 10 clients and you're maxed out, the stuff that I just described, I don't think it's possible that you're running your program along those lines. Another example that I would give you is when it's time to get a deal done, it's time to get a deal done. Like, how many maybes do you have? Let's say that you approach 20 coaching clients, you're trying to get them done, and like there's 8 that say yes, and then you've got 12 maybes zipping around. Well, that can be an exhaustive amount of time, energy, focus, etc. Time that you're not building value, you're not improving your systems, you're not recruiting a kick-butt coach to work alongside you, you're not recruiting and training an incredible virtual assistant to make your life easier. Like, this is where you should be spending your time. So one of the ways that you can do it with getting a deal done, and I just know that as coaches, this is always a battle, by doing a scaled pricing of everything that we've gone over, Road Dogg, in this podcast. The feedback, well, you've seen it all, but the feedback that we get more than anything in terms of, wow, that was a real game changer, is the scaled pricing. So when you want to get a deal done, let's assume that you're $2,000 a month. Being willing to do it $500, $1,000, $1,500, and then $1,997, which is $2,000, right? $1,997 per month ongoing. The productivity hack there is that, yes, you are going to be working for less than you feel like you're worth for a few months. But the difference is you're going to get the damn deal done. You're going to get that coaching client. You're going to get working with that coaching client. And then your time, your energy, your focus can be in getting that coaching client results and knocking you out of the park with them, as opposed to how you're going to get the deal done, which, quite frankly, think of the difference between those two focuses. You're focused on how you're going to get this deal done and how you're knock it out of the park with your existing coaching client who's going to be paying you $2,000 a month, hopefully for many, many months, ideally years, and potentially an entire decade. That's a significantly better use of your time and your focus. So Road Dogg, that might have gone in a slightly different direction than the person asking was asking about, but like 10 clients is not enough. You've got to be able to get like 20 is really where you should be and should be, quite frankly, able to do that. Not comfortably. That's going to be, that's going to be taxing you a little bit. But I think you're going to find that just allowing yourself to get pulled in multiple areas, both in personal life and business. And don't think for a second you can, if you think you have a personal life and then a business life, again, you're dreaming. That doesn't happen. Never going to happen. Impossible. You've got your personal life. You've got your business life. You've got to just manage those in a way that you're just totally dialed in, totally focused, and you'll be blown away at how much more you can get done. So there you go, Road Dog. That's my answer, man. What do you think?
Get a cleaner? Check. Get a driver? On the list. Wear the same thing every day? It's easy for you. You just put on a crown and grab a hockey stick. Like, that's pretty much your outfit.
I'm holding a hockey stick right now, man. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Clothing optional, crown mandatory. This is the life of a king right there. Now, I don't want to put any naked images of you in anyone's head, but and again, I'm going to be very careful in how I ask this next question, because I want to be very clear, because I know when I say focused.com, people forget the ED at the end. And again, so now please elaborate on your clock. That was awesome from a few weeks back.
Please elaborate. All right. Please elaborate on my clock. Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about here. Network effects is really what I mean when I say clock. This is something, again, I think back when I mentioned it, I encouraged everybody to go and do a little bit of homework in and around it. Look, network effects. Every client that comes in improves the experience for the future client. So in other words, like, things improve with size. Let me give you an example. The example that I gave then, and I'll give you here, Amazon. Nobody does this better than Amazon. Again, Amazon is a $1 trillion company, with the way that everybody spends money, like our governments and whatnot nowadays, a million, billion, trillion. It's like as though they're like something, similar to one another. A million seconds is 11 days. A billion seconds is 32 years. So 11 days and 32 years. I don't think so, right? Nothing similar about them. And then if it's 32 years for a billion, what would a trillion seconds be? And the answer is 32,000 years. Again, putting it in context, guys, when I say that, Amazon, $1 trillion company, to really put it in context, like, it's eye-watering, right? It's like the local restaurant is not going to become $1 trillion company, not happening. The end. So with that being said, how do they do it? And they couldn't do it without network effects. And frankly, the other $1 billion unicorns couldn't do it either. So what do they do? The clock. So I want you to picture 12, 3, 6, and 9. Okay. So the most important function of Amazon's business is selection. They know that the more selection they have, the better the business comes in multiple different ways. Well, if you go to 3 o'clock, then you've got customer experience. So the more stuff that's there, the better customer experience, because they don't need to go to 2 different places. What a pain in the butt, right? When you buy something, you got to go to 2 different places. We've all experienced that for, pretty much our lifetime up until now, prior to Amazon. It's just one of those things. Well, the better the customer experience, the more the traffic. So now I'm down at 6 o'clock. And then from traffic, you're going to get more sellers at 9 o'clock, as in, we all know that guy that's like, I'm not selling on Amazon. I'm not selling on Amazon. They are the devil. Forget it. And then it's like, shoot, I got to sell on Amazon because everybody else is on Amazon. And by the way, that's where all my clients are. Well, now you've got more sellers. What are you going to have? A 12 o'clock selection? That's going to increase. And then customer experience is going to increase. And what happens with this clock is it actually speeds up and expands. Okay. So in fact, and there's actually a second level to Amazon's clock, where once they start bringing in more sellers and more products, they now have buying power, which allows them to buy better, which allows them to sell better, as in cheaper. And then what's that going to go when you go down to 3 o'clock, when you're able to buy everything cheaper? That's going to increase the customer experience. And then what's that going to do to traffic? It's going to increase that as well. So what happens with network effects is everything moves in a clockwise direction, but it speeds up and then it expands. Well, with a coach, right? What's the problem here? Well, a coach you've got, so if you go to 12 o'clock with your business, I assume you're a coach or a consultant, right? You're listening to this. It'd be crazy if you didn't, or you weren't, right? It wouldn't make any sense. But anyway, so new client at 12 o'clock, okay? You're all looking for new clients. You're trying to get to that threshold of 20 high-end clients. Well, if you go to 3 o'clock, you've got available time, right? And then roughly 20, okay, is where you'd max. You got 20 available time slots. And then you go down to 6, you got your clients' wants and needs. Remember, your clients, if you have 3 clients, you've got one level of client wants and needs. And if you've got 20 clients, you have an entirely different level of clients' wants and needs, greater. And then customer experience is 9 o'clock, right? And as you get better at this, when you have 3 clients, you might be reasonably new. And then you've got 13 clients, and you might be getting way better at this whole coaching thing, way better at motivating them, way better at getting your coaching calls, done, kicking them into gear, etc. So you're going to improve. But what's that going to do with your clients? That's going to increase. Here's the problem, and why I call it a clock, is that once you get to 20 on the available time at 3 o'clock, so you go from 20 to 25, the clock starts to reverse itself, right? It starts to go in an anti-clockwise direction, which is clearly a problem, right? Because once you get 30 clients, your client's wants and needs is going to surpass your ability to deliver. What's the customer experience going to do at 9 o'clock? It's going to go in the opposite direction. Like, I can never get a hold of this guy. And if you're an elite coach, you guys have heard this a ton. I used to be one of my biggest problems, objections when I would take on coaching clients, because I was pretty well known. It was like, well, you're going to take me on now, but as you get busier and you continue to do these events, you're going to get too busy for me and not be able to spend the time with me. I would hear that all the time, right? So the customer experience goes in the wrong direction. So now I'm going to go from 20 to 30 back to 20, because the clock starts eating itself. It starts going in an anti-clockwise direction. So you've got to get a hold of something where you're going, or in fact, Uber might be another example. Again, just to make sure you're understanding network effects, because again, for your clients, guys, I can't begin to tell you how powerful this is. So you've got, let's say at 12 o'clock, you've got more demand, like more people. Like I just recommended, geez, you should never drive to work. Your client shouldn't drive to work. They should just take an Uber, jump in the back and work on their laptop and make calls for the hour and they could do phone calls, let's say, while they're driving. They can't do it. You're not able to focus. Quite frankly, it's dangerous, but you're not going to be able to focus on the level that you can when you're sitting in the back and have no responsibility to be driving or traffic or whatever. And then more drivers. So the more demand they have, the more drivers that they're going to end up with. Well, the more drivers, they've got kind of like more geo coverage, so that every square inch of the planet at some stage is going to be covered by Uber, right? And then, well, what happens if there's if there's more geo coverage, then you're going to have a faster pickup. And if you're getting faster pickups, concern is that I say, well, just call an Uber in the morning. Well, what happens if they're late? What happens if nobody's around? Well, that would be a problem, right? Clearly. But the faster they pick you up and the faster they can pick you up. And what about, you don't know what time your meeting's going to end, right? Well, that's a problem. So are you going to wait 30 minutes out front for an Uber to come pick you up? Or back in the day, the taxis, that's what we'd have to do. Well, as you know, Uber is often they're 3 to 5 minutes away. So faster pickups, that's going to increase demand, and it continues to turn. So basically, and then Airbnb and Google, any billion-dollar unicorn basically has this working in their favor. Just again, in a sentence, every new client improves the experience for the further clients. So here's the question I can hear somebody asking, well, how do we do it as a coach then? We can't just throw in the towel and say, okay, we can only take on 20 clients. This is why the folks that work with us, why we create a membership site. If you have 10 members on your membership site or 1,000 members on your membership site, does it matter in terms of the IT, like the membership site? The answer is no. Same content coming out. Well, if you coupled that with, say, a group coaching call, so let's say you got 1,000 members on your membership site paying you $100 to $200 a month, and then you're doing a group coaching call once a week with all of those members. If you have 300 people on the call, or you have 3 people on the call, which is a better call? And clearly more people, because now you've got more people providing feedback. You're learning from them, they're learning from you, more people learning from you at one time. But most importantly, your clients are going to be able to answer questions for your own clients, which this is what we have with our company, where a lot of the coaches first of all, I learn a tremendous amount. We've got over 800 coaches in 24 countries. I'm learning every single day from our existing coaches, but most importantly, our existing coaches are learning from our coaches. So this is where you want to get Facebook groups as an example, work for network effects. Group coaching, another thing that we do is all of our coaches, we put together group coaching for them and we run it for them. Ideally, what happens is they get it to a certain stage and then they take over. and every coach should have group coaching. Group coaching is normally a little bit less expensive than one-to-one. Like, let's say your one-to-one is $2,000 a month, and your group coaching is going to be $1,000. Maybe when you're first getting it going, you started at 500, but you got it at $500 a month. If you get 10 clients into that thing, that's $60,000 a year. But what's important is as your group coaching grows and you get more feedback, you get more involvement, the better it's going to be for the other participants. That's the magic. So that is network effects. And this is why with our company, we insist, like, as part of the value proposition, we provide group coaching and membership sites. And by the way, this is where software comes into it as well, because you could imagine how many people could be using the software at the same time. So that's network effects. It's an awesome topic. It is one that I am highly passionate about, and learning, like, you have no idea, every single day. I've got my spidey senses, like, instead of taking out the trash, instead of, cleaning up dog pee or whatever, doing the garden, I'm sitting there going for walks, and I'm dialing in, and I'm thinking of network effects. How could I use network effects at a higher level? And this is where, again, I take my focus, I take my energy, and I put it into that, as opposed to 19 different tasks throughout the day that pull me away. So anyways, Road Dog, that's what I'd say to that, man. But that's a great question. And that clock, I believe that's a very powerful subject, brother. Very powerful.
Well, I'm glad it went that way, not more cleaning up dog poop. So that's good.
Yeah, I know. Good.
Listen, folks, I try to keep Karl on track. Some days it's easier than others. Anyways, all right, Karl. Just to close this out, and can you close us out with giving our listeners just your one thing that they can do today from today's podcast? Is there one nugget here that sort of is like, here's one thing that they can take from what you've discussed today and implement into their business today?
Yeah, here, I think, and this is what I was trying to say earlier, and I don't know if I dialed in enough, but throughout the week, I want you to log your activity of what you're doing. And just ideally, an hour will be good enough, but every half hour, every 15 minutes is going to be better. Every 30 minutes would be better than that again. You've only got a certain amount of time. You've only got a certain amount of energy and a certain amount of focus. You need to spend it in the areas where you want your life to be expanding. And again, some folks love to do the gardening, and then that's really therapeutic for them, and then they come up with great ideas. Then you should continue to do that. That's great. I'm not that guy, right? So that's not what I'm doing. So what I do is I figure, if I hire a gardener and I got to pay a couple $100, the time when they're doing gardening, because my wife insists that it gets done, we got to understand some realities of the home. And there is no personal and business life. There is only life. So I would prefer to pay somebody to come and do X, Y, Z. Definitely cleaning your house is an example. Not many people that like doing those types of tasks. So you should hire people, but that $200 will be incredibly well spent when you spend it and you're disciplined on tasks that you need to be concentrating on. So the example that I gave earlier is studying tax if you study tax for 2 hours a week for 3 months, could you imagine how much more you'd know about it than you do today? Well, what's the number one expense in your life? My life, Road Dog's life, anybody over the age of 18, the number one expense in your life is going to be taxes. Okay, but nobody spends 5 seconds. What they do is they get their wife or they get their husband to start an MLM. Let's say that it's a wife with a lingerie MLM, and they're trying to make, they're doing parties in the kitchen with lingerie with all their buds, which, by the way, could be a lot of fun and that could be cool. But why are they doing it? They're trying to make an extra $10,000 a year. Well, if you took that time, energy, and focus and spent it on studying tax, okay, and then all you needed to do is all you'd be doing is reducing your expenses instead of trying to increase your income, debatably, you'd be significantly further off, right? There's an argument that you could do, you could do both, but let's make sure that the lingerie is moving towards a bigger picture. Why did I use lingerie, Road Dog? But anyway, so that's an example, but just take your week and break it down into lots of time and work out where you're spending your time effectively, where is your energy and focus going, and make sure that it's going in the right areas. Like if if your office, like let's say you've got an office and it's an hour away, look, that's 2 hours throughout the day where you could be dialing in the back of an Uber versus, driving and, having to concentrate on traffic and, lights and everything else. It'd be incredibly powerful. So that's what I would encourage everybody to do. But Road Dogg, I have advised, 10,000 people over the years to log, track their time on a weekly basis in again, 15, 30-minute, at least in 1 hour blocks. And then how many people do it? Everybody tells me they're going to do it. Yeah, got it. But then nobody does it. And then they're missing out on these types of opportunities. Again, Jeff Bezos and Zuckerberg and whatnot, they wear the same thing over and over again. Guys, these guys are billionaires. And remember, when you think billionaire versus millionaire, there's nothing similar about them. I mean, to hit billionaire status, you need to be dialing in on focusing on some important stuff. And if they feel like it's not worthy of their time and effort, energy, and focus in the morning to decide what they're going to wear, or another one is what you're going to eat. Oh my gosh. If you really calculate how much time throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, you spend deciding on what you're going to eat, and then, preparing what it is that you're going to eat, and then eating, and then cleaning up, like just that lot of time. And by the way, in the morning, in the afternoon for lunch, and then dinner, you just be blown away. So if you prepared all of that stuff in advance and potentially hired somebody to come in in this day and age, pre-packaged meals and that sort of thing can be, very accessible and all over. You would be blown away at how much extra time, energy, and focus that you could put on creating value for your clients, creating value for your business, maybe developing your own software, maybe creating your own XYZ coaching solution. I think you could get so much further. So Road Dogg, that is what I would say. Track your activity over a weekly basis, and not just your physical activity, but also your mental energy. Remember, like if you spend 10 minutes deciding on what it is that you're going to have for dinner, that is an example of something that would go down on my log sheet. So there you go, Road Dogg. That's what I'd say, brother.
Couldn't have gone to skincare, hey?
Could have.
You had to go to lingerie. Couldn't have gone to skincare or shakes. Anyways. All right,
more of a dramatic example, Road Dogg. It's more dramatic, so there you go. People remember it better. There you go.
We could go down a whole nother path. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another great episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the man on top of the hill, my boy, King Karl. And if you're not getting Karl's daily emails, or you want more information on how to build your coaching company, visit focused.com and subscribe today. Also, if you enjoyed this podcast, please share with an existing coach or someone you think would make a great coach. Someone that loves Tony Robbins, or a great salesperson, or a highly motivated type. And of course, we'd appreciate it if you'd rate this episode, as we know that iTunes and Spotify give an insane amount of weight towards reviews. So please leave us a review if you like what you heard. Well, that's it for another week, everybody. Remember, folks, progress equals happiness.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.